Breaking news, Clippers owner Steve Ballmer now being sued by 11 other investors into aspiration for allegedly putting money into the company for the purpose of having it funneled to Kawhi Leonard outside of the NBA's salary cap. Let's get into what is going on in this quickly changing situation. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here. So this is Pablo Torre, who of course has been all over the Kawhi Leonard scandal. 11 aspiration investors allege that Ballmer used the company, now named Katona, to secretly funnel millions of dollars to NBA star player Kawhi Leonard, paying him more than allowed by the NBA's cap rules. The arrangement was that Ballmer would be an investor, and in return, Ballmer would use Katona to secretly funnel millions of dollars to star NBA player Kawhi Leonard. These funds would be channeled through Katona to Leonard so that Ballmer could induce Leonard to re-sign with the Clippers by covertly paying him more than allowed by the NBA's salary cap rules. Now, the problem is that essentially Ballmer aided and abetted Joe Sandberg's fraud for his own self-purpose, and that aspiration could not have sustained the funds set therein. So essentially, Ballmer was complicit, as the suit is noting, in an aided and abetted Sandberg's fraud, and that Ballmer publicly endorsed Katona and infused $50 million into the company. And without that, Katona could not have sustained the frauds set forth therein. So because Ballmer was an investor, that allowed Joe Sandberg to go and defraud others. And that's what these 11 investors are now suing Steve Ballmer for, saying, hey, because you got into this and did this in order to funnel money to Kawhi Leonard rather than actually invest in the company, it made it look like the company was on much more stable ground than it actually was. We therefore invested, and our investments wound up being bad ones because we were given incorrect information because of your, well, again, illegal, very much against the NBA salary cap, collective bargaining agreement structure here. So again, plaintiffs would not have invested and or kept their investment in Katona if Ballmer and Sandberg had disclosed the true nature of Ballmer's investments. This suit is acting as though this is what happened. Ballmer was funneling money to Kawhi Leonard. Once again, the big part of this from the NBA side is if he was indeed funneling money outside of the confines of the NBA salary cap, this is a huge, huge problem with salary cap circumvention. The Clippers would get, as I've said, the hammer dropped on them by Adam Silver. We're talking about massive penalties for cheating to this degree, if this is indeed true. But this suit is acting as though this is what Ballmer did. Sandberg and Ballmer never disclosed the truth about Ballmer's investment in support of Katona. Sandberg and Ballmer never disclosed to the plaintiffs that the millions of dollars Ballmer injected into Katona were meant to allow Ballmer to funnel compensation to Leonard in violation of the NBA's rules and keep Katona's failing business afloat financially. Sandberg and Ballmer's scheme to pay Leonard through Katona to evade the NBA salary cap was only later revealed by Pablo Torre. Plaintiffs allege that Ballmer transferred other funds to Katona to keep the company afloat, and by Sandberg's support, cooperation, and silence about the secret deal with Leonard. The full extent of Ballmer's transfers of funds to Katona and Sandberg will be ascertained in discovery. Yikes. Once again, so all of this, again, coming from the plaintiff side of this, is alleging that Steve Ballmer very clearly funneled this money into aspiration / Katona in order to get the money to Kawhi Leonard. So what can that mean for the Clippers now that Ballmer himself is being sued because other investors are upset because they saw Steve Ballmer involved and said, oh, this must be on the up and up. Everything is good. We can invest our money. And then it turned out that Ballmer was, according to this suit, investing money not really to invest in the company, but instead to funnel money to Kawhi Leonard. So what's going to happen here? Let's get into that next. We'll be there in 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. Ever hear the Sleeper app? Here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats. A news feed, this is so important for me. You can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams. A real-time chat to allow you to engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. So Download the #1 sports app today. Experience it for yourself. When you use promo code Bulletin, you get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And by the way, they do have a phenomenal promo going on right now as well. Free $20 entry. Go check that out. No deposit required. $20 entry for free. Go check them out. Use the link in the description down below, and that promo code is Bulletin. Okay, so once again, this suit acts as though, yes, Ballmer did this. This was all, the reason why he invested was in order to funnel the money to Kawhi Leonard. So now what does this ultimately mean? Because the NBA, they're doing their investigation, and if it's proven that this is indeed what happened, again, I'm not a lawyer, but would have to imagine that this sets Steve Ballmer up. If it's proven, once again, I'm saying if, because we don't know. And what is the degree, the burden of proof? What is the degree to which they have to prove that? How much of circumstantial evidence can be stacked up in order to ultimately create enough of it for them to say, yes, something fishy happened here? A lot of questions out there that still need to be answered. But if they ultimately land on at a point where it's, yes, Steve Ballmer put money into the company for the purpose of circumventing the NBA salary cap, which again would be a huge problem for the NBA, that could potentially open up Steve Ballmer personally to owe damages here to the other investors in the company. Because again, the allegation is that they invested because they believe Steve Ballmer was investing in good faith, and that the company was more stable than it actually was. And so by injecting this money into the company, it allowed Joe Sandberg to go and defraud other people. So Ballmer's involvement actually helped to aid the fraud that was being committed. This is a whole new turn with this situation with now Steve Ballmer. Now Steve Ballmer has a lot more than just the Clippers being at stake here, being at risk here. Steve Ballmer's got now these other investors that are coming for him saying, look, if you did put in money to funnel it, and they're alleging that he did, if this is how it all went down, then you owe us. You owe us for this, because we invested thinking Ballmer was invested on the up and up. And if it turns out, whether it's the NBA's investigation, if it's through this suit or whatever, that this is indeed what happened, that Ballmer invested funds in order to funnel money to Kawhi Leonard outside of the NBA salary cap. I've said it a bunch of times. The NBA absolutely needs to drop the hammer on the Clippers, because they cannot allow this to happen again. The deep-pocketed owners in the NBA, they have too much money. You cannot allow this to happen again. It will be destructive of Adam Silver and the NBA's goal for parity in the NBA. If this is only a slap, if it turns out the Clippers did this, Steve Ballmer did this, and it's only a slap on the wrist, then that will then create a path for others to do it in the future. And that is the problem. Just like with the gambling allegations with the Terry Rozier situation, everything going on with Chauncey Billups, boy, this is a big test of Adam Silver's tenure at the helm of the NBA, because he's got to get this right. And if guilt and wrongdoing is found here, he has to act swiftly and he has to act strongly to set the precedent for the future, because this kind of nonsense, if true, cannot be allowed to take place in the NBA. Everybody give me your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.